Hey, fourth grade. We are starting a new chapter in math, and it is all about factors. Factors are numbers that can be multiplied together to produce another number. So, for example, 6 times 2 equals 12. That means 6 and 2 are factors of 12. Anything that can be multiplied together to give you the number 12 is a factor of 12, which means the numbers 1 and 12 are factors of 12 because they can be multiplied together to give you 12. 3 and 4 are factors of 12 because they can be multiplied together to give you 12. Okay? There are numbers that only have one set of factors, which would be the number 1 in itself, because they are what is called a prime number. Prime numbers, you can only multiply that number by 1 to get that number. There's no other number that you can multiply together to give you that number. So for example, the number 7, you can't multiply two numbers together to give you the number 7 except for 1 and 7. There aren't any other numbers. But the number 8, you can multiply 8 times 1 to give you 8, but you can also multiply 2 times 4 to give you 8. That is called a composite number. When you can multiply other numbers together to give you that number, that's a composite number. When you can only multiply that number times 1 to give you that number, that is a prime number. Okay, so 1 times itself, it's a prime number. If you can multiply it by more than that to give you that number, then it's a composite number. Okay, so when you get to bigger numbers, trying to figure out factors of bigger numbers, you might get a little bit overwhelmed of trying to figure out what numbers will go into this number. So I want to remind you that you know that 2 will not go into a number unless it's an even number. So if it doesn't end in a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0, then 2 does not go into that number. 3, I taught you all a trick for 3s, and that is to add the digits together. So no matter how many digits the number has, you can add those digits together. And after you add those digits together, if you can divide the total by 3, then that number is divisible by 3. So, for example, the number 72, 7 plus 2 equals 9. And 9 is divisible by 3. So that means 72 is divisible by 3. Okay, 5, a 5 can go into a number if that number ends in a 5. So 5 or 0. So if a number doesn't end in a 5 or a 0, then 5 can't go into it. 9 has the same trick as 3. So you can add the digits. And if that answer you can divide by 9, then the number is divisible by 9. So you could have 144. 1 plus 4 plus 4 equals 9. So that means the number 144 is divisible by 9. And then 10, if it ends in a 0, it's divisible by 10. If it doesn't end in a 0, 10 cannot go into it. Okay. How do we find factors? There's a few different ways that you could go about it. You could think about it by dividing. So, for example, if you have the number 30, you can say, well, I know that I can divide 30 by 3. 30 divided by 3 equals 10, which means 3 and 10 are factors of 30. You can divide 30 by 2, And 30 divided by 2 equals 15, which means 2 and 15 are factors of 30. 30 divided by 5 equals 6, so 5 and 6 are factors of 30. And then you can also divide 30 by 1, which means 1 and 30 are factors of 30. Now 1 and whatever number you have will always be factors of that number. So don't forget to include 1 and whatever number you have as factors. Okay. You can also draw arrays. I know some of you like to draw. I didn't do 30 because I didn't want to draw 30 blocks, but this is the same thing. So I just realized this is probably going to be backwards on the video. I'm so sorry. Okay, so I drew an array of 3 by 4. So 3 going across and 4 going down. There's a total of 12 blocks here. I know that 3 and 4 are factors of 12. 3 times 4 equals 12. And I did the same here with 2 and 6. So I have 2 blocks going this way and 6 going this way. And I know that 2 times 6 equals 12. And then the same for 1 and 12. 1 box going this way and 12 going down. So these are all the numbers that are factors of 12. What I like to do, but can get a little tricky, so maybe don't do it until you're more comfortable finding factors. This is what's called a factor tree. And what you do is start with the number that you're given, and then you're going to divide it up in whatever way you choose, whatever comes to you easiest. So if you don't know that 2 times 15 equals 30, then figure out what you do know. So you know that 5 times 6 equals 30. So instead of 2 and 15, you would write 5 and 6. So after you start with the first 2 numbers that you know, you're going to go to the number that can be broken down even more. So 2, you can't break 2 down anymore. There's not any numbers that are going to go into 2 besides 2 and 1. But that's called a prime number, so we're not going to break that down anymore. But we're going to go to 15. 15 can be broken down more into 3 and 5. And then we're going to stop there because these are also prime numbers. 5 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number. So when you're left with all prime numbers left, you're going to stop. Now these are your factors of 30. But there's some that are not listed here. So that's what you have to think about and be careful about. You know that 2 times 15 equals 30. So these 2 are factors of 30. But what times 3 equals 30? 3 times 10 equals 30. So you have to include 10 also as a factor. And then you have 5. What times 5 equals 30? 6. So you would have to include 6 as a factor as well. So factors of 30 are 2, 15, 3, 10, 5, and 6. And then you also have 30 and 1. Okay. So please let me know if you have questions as you're going through the problems in your book. I know once you get going on it, it's going to be really easy for you. But just let me know if you have any questions. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. Good night.